Good morning, all. Sorry,
Good morning.
getting my coffee.
Good morning.
Mine too. I drink mine black. How do you drink yours?
Not quite black. I'm on the cream and sugar, but I'm cutting down because I'm telling
Usually
you.
if I have a sweet tooth, I'll put like some sugar and stuff, but I like mine black. I like the bitterness.
One day I will get there. But I think it's finding the right tasting coffee because some coffee is just, ugh.
Yeah. I've
You
experimented. And the type of machine you use. So I use a pour over. Sometimes I use a French press. So it really depends on
Heard
on
of
like
that.
what you use. Because it does make a difference. Like the pour over makes it more smooth. The
Okay.
French, I sound like a snob right now. And the French press
Abuchi.
makes it more bold and stronger. And drip is okay. It's like whatever, but you don't get the intense flavors either.
And I like a dark, intense flavor as long as it's good.
So French press, you would like a French press.
I want to taste my coffee. I don't want it to be watery, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I like cream in mine, cream and sugar, but I get coffee from Haiti when I'm able to, and like if I travel like Trinidad, Costa Rican
Yeah.
coffee is really good.
It's
Really
good.
good.
I've been there, yeah.
Really good.
Any coffee that's not American is good, in my opinion.
There you go. Yep.
Pretty much.
Exactly.
Only thing I can find here is my Bustelo or the Pilon. So that's usually what I
Pilon,
drink too.
And then you use the container for everything else but
Yep.
coffee.
Good morning, everyone. And I know you're holding the book up. What's that?
Good morning.
Oh, I'm ready this morning.
Well, we haven't, just so the rest of the committee knows, we haven't officially sent out the assignments, but for the policy committee, Pastor AJ Johnson will be the committee chairman. And I'm sorry for the last minute invite, but yeah, thank you to Hiram Francoise for joining. And I sent now for the rest of the year, and I will do so for all the rest of the committees as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, Christina.
All right. Do I assume the responsibility at this point moving forward, or?
Yes, I would, yes.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Will there be anyone else joining us?
I think this is it today. Usually Shantae joins, but officially.
I'll give her another minute to join.
Okay.
And while she's joining, Christina, can you just pull up the agenda? Hello, Richard.
I change it every time. Can you guys see the agenda? Okay.
Yep, it looks like we have a second reading, student discipline, administering medications, food allergies, and possession on school property. Is that accurate?
That's correct.
Okay, very good. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. And if Shantae joins, she can hop right in. Good morning, everyone. Me as a committee chair, I am someone who likes to start meetings with just something good. So if everyone can just go around and just say something amazing that happened this weekend. You don't have to spend 15 minutes on it, just something amazing that may have happened to you. And we can start with Christina as she looks most excited to share.
Oh, I got to work on Saturday. Yay. As we all do. this weekend. How about next weekend? I'm gonna see my niece and nephew I haven't seen for a while. So I'm getting the family together. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. Dr. Silver?
Thank you. I had breakfast with my dad, which is so special. So that was amazing. And I'll pass this over to Ms. Escrivado.
You got it. After our board meeting, I went to the gym and it felt good. I spent an hour and a half in there and it felt good to like lift some weight. So that was one of the good things that happened this weekend.
There you go. New year, new you. I like it. Ms. Masrick, Attorney Masrick.
Morning, everyone. Well, I wish I could say I exercised, but I did not. I had a birthday on Friday, so I spent a lot of the weekend eating, basically, and spending time with family. But it was a nice weekend.
Happy belated.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, happy 21st birthday. Congratulations.
There you go. I like you.
There you go.
Birthday, Lori.
Thank you.
All right, Deb, go ahead, real quick.
Hi, good morning. Let's see. I had an amazing game of catch with my dogs at the dog park yesterday. The sun was shining. It was chilly, but it was just beautiful out. So that was really nice.
It's the small things, Deb. It's the small things.
Exactly.
Tyrone, something amazing that you did this weekend.
Good morning. Well, I had a relaxing Sunday. Survived the all the meetings on Saturday, and I'm here welcoming and joining in today on Monday.
Thank you, Tyrone. Francois.
Well, I had the pleasure of enjoying these chocolates that I got at the board meeting, and let me tell you, we had a snow day on Friday, and these chocolates were just sitting there, and they were so good. So I savored them all weekend. So thank you, Reverend Johnson, for those chocolates that you gave us.
Oh, wow. Thanks. You know,
They were that good.
You know, I try, man. I knew they were gonna be good, and they were gonna pop out at the right time. And thank God for that snow day. Miss Sharice Eiffel.
Good morning, everyone. I'm a strategic management fellow to all the new board members. I'm working with Chief Nishet Blackburk in Priority 3. Thank you, Pastor AJ. This morning, this weekend, today is actually my now 4-year-old son's birthday. So we're preparing to celebrate him today and have been doing so for the whole weekend.
Nice. Monster trucks. You can't go wrong with monster trucks.
Yes, he's obsessed with monster trucks right now.
Yeah. I got a 4-year-old. Yeah. Monster trucks. Matter of fact, I have thousands of them. If you want, I can just give you like 10 of them off the rip because I step on them, slip on them, all of it. So
amazing.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like everyone had a good weekend. I didn't do anything at all but take care of these kids and take care of responsibilities. So I think this weekend I found out I was getting old because now 8 o'clock is like the new bedtime when it used to be like preparing to go somewhere, but it's just, anyway. So with that being said, we're going to start our meeting and we're going to turn it over to Dr. Silver to lead us through our second reading. If you're ready.
Yes, sir. I'm ready. Thank you so much.
Kim just joined. Anything fun that you did this weekend, Kim? Really quick, 30 seconds.
Yeah, clap.
Make it quick.
I don't have anything that'll be fun this weekend, unfortunately. I just got some rest, but thank you.
Oh, rest is good.
Rest
Did you
is
eat
fun,
those
definitely.
chocolates yet? Kim, did you eat those chocolates yet?
Oh no, I've been saving the chocolates. I didn't eat the chocolate.
Girl, eat those chocolates. That will just change your whole trajectory on chocolate.
Thanks for the tip, Francois. I appreciate it.
Cool. Dr. Silver.
Thank you so much, Pastor AJ. So today I'm just going to share my screen here to show No, there seems to be something. With the screen sharing, only getting a choice of my whole window, whiteboard, or phone pad. So
Sometimes the more screens, there's usually a
yep, and going to advanced, I'm really not seeing it. Hopefully,
show all windows,
um,
saying show all windows, because sometimes it doesn't show everything.
I'm not showing it. So let me just start with this very big screen. Okay, so this is our list of policies today. Hopefully that's not so big that it's impossible to read. But we have a second reading of the student discipline policy. And then we have updates on administering medication, our food allergies policy, as well as, and I have to confess here, I mislabeled this possession on school property. It really should be substance education. It's a 6,000 series, which means it's in our instructional policy. So I mislabeled that, and I apologize for that error. But I will dive right now into the student discipline policy, which is 5131.6, which is right here. And I'm hopeful that this may actually be, okay, can everyone see that all right? I see Ms. Escribino squinting. Are you okay? Can you?
No, it's good now. You zoomed in, so it was good.
Okay, great, great. So what you see is this was formerly our policy 5137, and in October it was codified as 5131.6. And this is really about possession on school property, because the only change in this policy, and there were no updates, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, other than relabeling the policy number. We did update the legal references on this policy, and that is really the only change. And so those legal references were all updated to reflect the most current ones. And that is the that's the only change with this policy, is the update to the legal references.
Any questions on that? That was quite a quick overview. Any questions on that particular policy? Okay. All right, Dr. Silver, I think we're ready to move forward.
Okay, great. I'm going to go to our first new policy, and that is administering medications. And I am trying to pull that up on my screen as well. And I have so much gratitude for the work that our medical director, here we go, Dr. McGillipan, as well as Deb Comedes, who's here today with us. Just a tremendous amount of work that's been done to update this policy. This policy was last updated in 2006. And trying to get to the right window here. So there's a lot of work that's happened on this policy. So let me just share this. And it appears I can only share my whole screen. So what you see here are the numbering of the policy was revised, was updated in October to 5141.21, or that was labeled in January. These are the edits. And so Pastor AJ, if you'd like, we can go line by line through this policy to review the updates.
Yes, I think that would be helpful to all of our board members, particularly new board members that are here.
Okay, So the title of this now appears in the header as well as the page numbers. The purpose of this policy is for the Board of Education to determine who shall administer medications in the school and the circumstances under which self-administration of medication by students shall be permitted. The Board of Education allows students to self-administer medication and school personnel to administer medication to students in accordance with the established procedures and applicable state regulations, sections 10-212A-1 through 10-212A-10 inclusive. In order to provide immunity afforded to school personnel who administer medication, the Board of Education, with the advice and approval of the school medical advisor and the school nurse supervisor, shall review and/or revise this policy and regulation biennially concerning the administration of medications to district students by a nurse or, in the absence of a nurse, by qualified personnel for schools. The district's school medical advisor or other qualified physician shall approve this policy, its regulations, and any changes prior to adoption by the board. So as I mentioned earlier, Dr. McGilpin worked together with Ms. Mites to refine and refresh this policy. And that opening language certainly does speak to the work that's already been done. And so if there are no questions so far, I'm going to keep going with this, with the language here.
Quick question for you, Dr. Silver. When you say qualified personnel, you know, I'm putting on my attorney Lori Masrick hat, right? When you say qualified personnel, like, is that just, are we assuming that it's someone in the nurse's office or someone with nursing or medical experience, or someone just who's old enough to watch or give that particular medicine?
Thank you for that question, Pastor AJ. We did have, so first off, qualified personnel for schools means that it would be an employee of the school district. And we do have a section later on in this, I believe it's on page 2, where we do speak to who those staff members are. So in the opening paragraphs, it does mention qualified personnel for schools, so it does have to be a staff member of the school district, but we'll get into more detail about that later as we go through this policy.
Thank you.
Okay. And I don't know, Deb or Ms. Bezarek, if you want to add anything right now about that. We're good?
I think covered it. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Silver. I think it defines a little ways down. It actually defines the qualified personnel.
Thank you. Thank you. So moving forward to definitions, and you can see there's been some updates here. This red line text has been deleted and updated. But I see that we have the word means twice. So we'll just delete one of those. Means any one of the following activities: handling, storing, preparing, or pouring of medication, conveying it to the student according to the medication order, observing the student inhale, apply, swallow, or self-inject medication when applicable, documenting that the medication was administered, and counting remaining doses to verify proper administration and use of the medication. So that is the definition of administration of medication. And I'll keep going. Number 2, advanced practice registered nurse means an individual licensed pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 20-94A. Our third definition is authorized prescriber, means a physician, dentist, optometrist, advanced practice registered nurse, or physician assistant, and for interscholastic and intramural athletic events only, a podiatrist. Number 4, controlled drugs means those drugs as defined in Connecticut General Statute Section 21A-240. Definition number 5, cumulative health record has not, there were no changes there. Number 6, director means the person responsible for the operation and administration of any school readiness program or before and after school program. Number 7, eligible student means a student who has reached the age of 18 or is an emancipated minor. Number 8, error means the failure to do any of the following as ordered. Administer medication. Well, points A through F, there were no changes, but this is under number 1. Then under number 2 for number 8, the administration of medication to a student which is not ordered by an authorized prescriber or which is not authorized in writing by the parent or guardian of such student, except for the administration of epinephrine for the purpose of emergency first aid pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes 10-212A and Section 10-212A-2 of the regulations of the Connecticut State Agencies. So this addition does allow for the emergency administration of epinephrine. Sorry about that. And revises that, removes the or which is not authorized in writing by a parent or guardian of such student. Because there are times when a student may have an anaphylactic reaction and the use of epinephrine, an EpiPen, is called for. And so this does release our staff to use that medication for the student. Number 9, extracurricular activities means activities sponsored by local or regional boards of education that occur outside of the school day, are not part of the education program, and do not meet the definition of before and after school programs and school readiness programs. And as you can see here, definition number 10, guardian, has not been revised. There were no changes. But definition 11 was added. Intramural athletic events means tryouts, competition, practice, drills, and transportation to and from events that are within the bounds of a school district for the purpose of providing an opportunity for students to participate in physical activities and athletic contests that extend beyond the scope of the physical education program. Definition number 12, interscholastic athletic events means events between or among schools for the purpose of providing an opportunity for students to participate in competitive contests which are highly organized and extend beyond the scope of intramural programs and includes tryouts, competition, practice, drills, and transportation to and from such events. Definition number 13, investigational drug means any medication with an approved investigational new drug IND application on file with the Food and Drug Administration, FDA, which is being scientifically tested and clinically evaluated to determine its efficacy, safety, and side effects, and which has not yet received FDA approval. Definition number 14, licensed athletic trainer means a licensed athletic trainer employed by the school district pursuant to Chapter 375A of the Connecticut General Statutes. Number 15, medication, the definition has not changed. Number 16, medication emergency, the definition has not changed there. Number 17, medication plan. This is a new definition in this policy. It means a documented plan established by the school nurse in conjunction with the parent and the student, the parent and student regarding the administration of medication in school. Such plan may be a standalone plan, part of an individualized healthcare plan, an emergency care plan, or a medication administration form. Definition number 18, medication order, has been revised. Means the written direction by an authorized prescriber for the administration of medication, the dosage of the medication, the route of administration, the time of administration, the frequency of administration, the indications for medication, any potential side effects, including overdose or missed dose of the medication, the start and termination dates not to exceed a 12-month period, and the written signature of the prescriber. So that definition has become more detailed.
Hey, Dr. Silva, this is Tyron Walker. So how is written signature defined? I'm only asking because so much stuff is now done electronically, what people are authorizing through electronic means.
Thank you so much for that question. Ms. Kanides or Ms. Mizrak, do you have insight into Ms. Kanides?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question. It's really interesting. We're still only accepting authorization forms on paper. We're not at the point yet, and maybe that will come in the future, where we would accept a medication authorization form electronically, but we're not doing that yet. I don't know, Attorney Mazurek, if there's anything you want to add to that in terms, I don't know, in terms of the future.
Yeah, I don't know if there's thought around changing that. I'm not aware of that.
Yeah, thank you. No, me neither.
Okay. Thank you for raising that question, Mr. Walker. So at this time, we will continue to require the written signature of the prescriber on paper.
Yeah, thank you.
Definition number 19. The definition for nurse has not changed or been updated, but occupational therapist, this is a new definition for us, definition 20. Occupational therapist means an occupational therapist employed full-time by the local or regional Board of Education and licensed in Connecticut pursuant to Chapter 376A of the Connecticut General Statutes. The next definition has also been added. Optometrist means an optometrist licensed to provide optometry pursuant to Chapter 380 of the Connecticut General Statutes. Definition 22 has also been added. Paraprofessional means a healthcare aide or assistant or an instructional aide or assistant employed by the local or regional Board of Education who meets the requirements of such board for employment as a healthcare aide or assistant or instructional aide or assistant. Number 23, there are quite a few definitions in this policy, and since 2006, these are all required. Number 23, physical therapist means a physical therapist employed full-time by the local or regional Board of Education and licensed in Connecticut pursuant to Chapter 376 of the Connecticut General Statutes. Number 24, physician means a doctor of medicine or osteopathy licensed to practice medicine in Connecticut pursuant to Chapters 370 and 371 of the Connecticut General Statutes, or licensed to practice medicine in another state. Number 25, physician assistant means an individual licensed to prescribe medications pursuant to Section 20-12D of the Connecticut General Statutes. Number 26, podiatrist means an individual licensed to practice podiatry in Connecticut pursuant to Chapter 375 of the Connecticut General Statutes. 27, principal means the administrator of the school. That definition has not changed. Number 28, school means any educational facility or program which is under the jurisdiction of the board, excluding extracurricular activities. Number 29, school nurse means a nurse appointed in accordance with Connecticut General Statute Section 10-212. Definition number 30, school nurse supervisor means the nurse designated by the local or regional Board of Education as the supervisor, or if no designation has been made by the board, the lead or coordinating nurse assigned by the board. Definition 31, school bus driver means any person who holds a commercial driver's license for the public passenger endorsement to operate a school bus pursuant to subsection A of Connecticut General Statutes 14-44. Number 32, school readiness program means a program that receives funds from the State Department of Education for a school readiness program pursuant to subsection B of Section 10-16P of the Connecticut General Statutes and exempt from licensure by the Office of Early Childhood pursuant to subdivision 1 of subsection B of section 19A-77 of the Connecticut General Statutes. Definitions 33 and 34 have not changed. There were no changes to those definitions: self-administration of medication and teacher. With that review of definitions, by your guidance, Pastor Johnson, we'll move on to general policies on the administrations of medications.
Are there any questions? Any thoughts or anything before we move forward? Hearing none, seeing none, we will move forward. Dr. Silverstein, your hands.
Thank you, sir. General policies on administration of medications. So we can see here that under item 3, there has been a revision. Medications may be administered only by a licensed nurse or, in the absence of a licensed nurse, properly trained directors designees, lead teachers, social workers, or school administrators as delegated by the school nurse or other registered nurse. So that is the change. So that has been expanded to the role that can administer medication. And if there are no questions, I'm going to move forward with the next change, which is the addition of intranasal to the list of types of administrations under point A of number 3. In the case of oral, topical, intranasal, or inhalant medications, a principal or a teacher who has been properly trained to administer such medications to students. If there are no questions, we'll move forward. As you can see here, I'm scrolling quickly, but it's because there are no revisions to this policy, these parts of the policy. We move to the next section, which is documentation and record keeping. And there's formatting changes, but there aren't any language changes in these parts of the policy. Then we move to the section medication emergency procedures. And there are no changes here. And if I'm going too fast, please let me know. Then there's supervision. And there is a change here. In addition, the school nursing supervisor shall be responsible for the following. So it's the nursing supervisor for the district is the change there. Then training of school personnel. And no changes here with the training of staff. Handling, storage, and disposal of medications. There are no changes there. Then administration of medication by paraprofessionals. Recall our definition earlier, which did include a healthcare paraprofessional. A specific paraprofessional through a plan approved by a school nurse supervisor and the school medical advisor may administer medications, including medications administered with a cartridge injector to a specific student with a medically diagnosed allergic condition that may require prompt treatment in order to protect the student against serious harm or death, pursuant to section 10-212A-9 of the regulations of the Connecticut State Agencies and as described in the administrative regulations. The approved plan also requires the written authorization of the student's parent, guardian, and pursuant to the written order from the student's authorized prescriber licensed to prescribe medication. If there are no questions, I'll move on to administration of medications and school readiness programs before and after school programs. So this is where medication administration has been expanded to permit staff in those settings to designated staff in those settings to administer medication. Directors or their designees, who may include lead teachers or school administrators who have been properly trained, may administer medications to students as delegated by the school nurse or other registered nurse in school readiness programs and before and after school programs that are child care programs. Such programs must either be district administered or administered by a municipality exempt from licensure by the Department of Public Health and are located in a district public school. Medicine may be administered pursuant to the regulations of Connecticut State Agencies, Section 10-212A-10 to children enrolled in these programs. Administration of medications shall be provided only when it is medically necessary for program participants to access the program and maintain their health status while attending the program. A child attending any before or after school program defined as any child care program operated and administered by the board in any building or on the grounds of any district school upon the request and with the written authorization of the child's parent, guardian, and pursuant to the written order from the student's authorized prescriber will be supervised by the district staff member, director or designee, lead teacher, or school administrator trained to administer medication, including a cartridge injector. Such administration shall be to a particular student medically diagnosed with an allergy that may require prompt treatment to avoid serious harm or death. Investigational drugs or research or study medications may not be administered by directors or their designees, lead teachers, or school administrators. Properly trained directors, directors' designees, lead teachers, or school administrators may administer medications to students as delegated by the school nurse or other registered nurse. They may administer oral, topical, intranasal, or inhalant medication. No medication shall be administered without the written order of an authorized prescriber and the written approval of the parent or guardian. The selected staff member shall be trained in the use of a cartridge injector by either a licensed physician, physician's assistant, advanced practice registered nurse, or a registered nurse. The administration shall determine in cooperation with the school medical advisor and school nurse supervisor whether additional school nursing services nurses are required based on the needs of the program and the participants in the program. This determination shall include whether a licensed nurse is required on site. The recommendation shall be subject to the superintendent's approval. The board will allow students in the school readiness and before and after school programs to self-administer medication according to the student's individual health plan and only with the written order of an authorized prescriber, written authorization of the child's parent or guardian, written approval of the school nurse, provided the nurse has evaluated the situation and deemed it appropriate and safe, and has developed a plan for general supervision of such medication, such self-medication, and with the written permission of the student or guardian for the exchange of information between the prescriber and the school nurse necessary to ensure the safe administration of such medication. An error in the administration of medication shall be reported immediately to the school nurse, the parent, guardian, and the prescribing physician. In case of an anaphylactic reaction or the risk of such reaction, a school nurse may administer emergency oral and/or injectable medication to any child in need thereof on school grounds or in the school building according to the standing order of the school medical advisor or the child's private physician. However, in an emergency, any other person trained in CPR and first aid may administer emergency oral and/or injectable medication to any child in need on school grounds or in the school building. In addition, local poison control center information shall be readily available at the sites of these programs. The program director or his or her designee shall be responsible for decision-making in the absence of the nurse. I know I've read quite a bit. Are there any questions so far?
I don't have any. It seemed pretty straightforward.
All right. In the event of a medical emergency, the following will be readily available. 1, local poison information center contact information. 2, the physician, clinic, or emergency room to be contacted in such an emergency. And 3, the name of the person responsible for the decision-making in the absence of a school nurse. All medications shall be handled and stored in accordance with the provisions of subsection A to K inclusive of the regulations of Connecticut state agencies as outlined in the accompanying administrative regulations on this policy. Where possible, a separate supply of the child's medication shall be stored at the site of the before or after school program or school readiness program. It is not possible, if this is not possible, a plan should be in place to ensure the timely transfer of the medication from the school to the program and back on a daily basis. Documentation and record keeping shall be done in compliance with the stipulations outlined in the administrative regulation accompanying this policy. The portion of this policy pertaining to the administration of medication in school readiness programs and before and after school programs shall be reviewed by the board on an annual basis with input from the school medical advisor or a licensed physician and the school nurse supervisor. During intramural and interscholastic athletic events, a coach or licensed athletic trainer who has been trained in the general principles of medication administration applicable to receiving, storing, and assisting with inhalant medications or cartridge injector medications and documentation may administer medication for select students for whom self-administration plans are not viable options as determined by the school nurse. The medication which may be administered is limited to 1, inhalant medications prescribed to treat respiratory conditions, and 2, medication administered with a cartridge injector for students with a medically diagnosed allergic condition, which may require prompt treatment to protect the student against serious harm or death. The school nurse is responsible for the student's individualized medication plan and shall provide the coach with a copy of the authorized prescriber's order and the parental guardian permission form. Parents are responsible for providing the medication, such as the inhaler or cartridge injector, to the coach or licensed athletic trainer, which shall be kept separate from the medication stored in the school health office during the school day. Medications to be used in athletic events shall be stored in containers for the exclusive use of holding medications in locations that preserve the integrity of the medication, under the general supervision of the coach or licensed athletic trainer trained in the administration of medication, and in a locked, secure cabinet when not in use at athletic events. The agreement of the coach or licensed athletic trainer is necessary for the administration of emergency medication and the implementation of the emergency care plan. Administration of medication by coaches and licensed athletic trainers during intramural and interscholastic events. So this is the next section of our, of our policy. Coaches and athletic trainers are required to fulfill the documentation requirements as outlined in the administrative regulations accompanying this policy. Errors in the administration of medications shall be addressed as specified in section 10-212A-6 of the regulations of the Connecticut state agencies and detailed in the administrative regulations pertaining to this policy. If the school nurse is not available, a report may be submitted by the coach or licensed athletic trainer to the school nurse on the next school day. Storage and administration of epinephrine. Storage and use of epinephrine cartridge injectors, emergency administration of epinephrine to students without prior written authorization. A school nurse, or in the absence of a school nurse, a qualified school employee who has completed the training required by Public Act 14-176 shall maintain epinephrine in cartridge injectors for the purpose of emergency first aid to students who experience allergic reactions, who are not previously known to have serious allergies, and who do not have a prior written authorization of a parent or guardian or a prior written order of a qualified medical professional for the administration of epinephrine. There is a note in our policy that EpiPens expire yearly. Therefore, schools are responsible for refilling their prescriptions annually. It is estimated that each school would require 2 or 3 2-pack EpiPens. The school nurse or school principal shall select qualified school employees who voluntarily agree to be trained to administer such epinephrine as emergency first aid. There shall be at least one such qualified school employee on the grounds of each district school during regular school hours in the absence of the school nurse. Each school must maintain a supply of epinephrine cartridge injectors, EpiPens, for such emergency use. Note, this requirement pertains only during regular school hours and does not include after-school activities. The school shall fulfill all conditions and procedures promulgated in the regulations established by the State Board of Education, Section 10-212A-2, for the storage and administration of epinephrine by school personnel to students for the purpose of emergency first aid to students who experience allergic reaction and do not have prior written authorization for epinephrine administration. The school nurse, or in the absence of, the school nurse, in the absence or unavailability of such school nurse, such qualified school employee may administer epinephrine to a student experiencing a life-threatening, undiagnosed allergic reaction as emergency first aid to students who do not have a prior written authorization from a parent or guardian or a prior written order from a qualified medical professional for the administration of epinephrine. A qualified school employee must annually complete the required training program in order to be permitted to administer epinephrine utilizing an EpiPen. Following the emergency administration of epinephrine by a qualified school employee to a student who does not have a prior written authorization of a parent or guardian or a prior written order of a qualified medical professional, such administration must be reported immediately to the school nurse or medical advisor, the student's parent or guardian by the school nurse or the qualified school employee, and a medication administration record shall be submitted by the qualified school employee at the earliest possible time, but not later than the next school day. Such record must be filed in or summarized on the student's cumulative health record. The parent guardian of a student may submit in writing to the school nurse and school medical advisor, if any, that epinephrine shall not be administered to his or her child permitted by statute. The district shall annually notify parents and guardians of the need to provide such written notice. The Board of Education, recognizing this emergency use of epinephrine for previously undiagnosed students per the statute, is to take place during regular school hours, establishes such hours to be from the arrival of the first students to the school site to the departure of the last bus serving the school at the conclusion of the day's instructional program. This next section has to do with the administration of anti-epileptic medications to students. With the written authorization of a student's parent or guardian and pursuant to the written order of a physician, a school nurse, and a school medical advisor, if any, shall select and provide general supervision to a qualified school employee who voluntarily agrees to serve as a qualified school employee to administer anti-epileptic medication, including by rectal syringe, to a specific student with a medically diagnosed epileptic condition that requires prompt treatment in accordance with the student's individualized seizure action plan. Such authorization is limited to situations when the school nurse is absent or unavailable. No qualified school employee shall administer such medication unless he or she annually completes the training program developed by the State Department of Education in consultation with the School Nurse Advisory Council. In addition, the school nurse and school medical advisor, if any, shall attest in writing that such qualified school employee has completed the required training. The qualified school employee shall also receive monthly reviews by the school nurse to confirm his or her competency to administer anti-epileptic medication. For purposes of the administration of anti-epileptic medication, a qualified school employee means a principal, teacher, licensed athletic trainer, licensed physical or occupational therapist employed by the district, coach, or school paraprofessional. school bus drivers training. Next section, by June 30th, 2019, school transportation carriers must provide training to all school bus drivers, including instruction on 1, identifying the signs and symptoms of anaphylaxis, 2, administering epinephrine by a cartridge injector, EpiPen, 3, notifying emergency personnel, and 4, reporting an incident involving a student's life-threatening allergic reaction. Such training can be completed online, provided the online module fulfills the legislative requirements. Beginning July 1, 2019, each carrier must provide the training to school bus drivers. 1, following the issuance or renewal of a public passenger endorsement to operate a school bus for carrier employees, and 2, upon the hiring of a school bus driver who is not employed by such carrier, for example, a subcontractor, except a driver who received the training after the most recent issuance or renewal of his or her endorsement is not required to repeat it. And then we have our legal references. So let me pause here and ask, are there any questions about the information that was just read in our policy?
So just to get clarity, I think that what I'm hearing is that bus drivers will be trained on how to administer in the event of an incident. Is that the general baseline of what I'm hearing?
Yes, sir. The updates to this policy include the ability to administer epinephrine to students who are having an allergic reaction, as well as the administration of anti-epileptic medications, and that school bus drivers will be trained in the administration of epinephrine or EpiPens. And that is the responsibility of their employer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and we have our legal references, which have undergone significant updates, as you can see. And so this policy was I thought it was 2006. It's 2005, November of 2005, the 2005-06 school year. And so bringing it up to date is something of great value to the district to pursue. This next section is the regulations, but our task is to review the policy. So do we have any changes or revisions to the policy language as read and prepared in this document?
I'm sorry, was that question for me or the general body?
I think for you, sir, Pastor AJ.
I'm sorry, can you repeat it? Do I have any, is there any revisions that we would like to add?
Yes. Are there any changes, or are we ready to bring this forward for a first reading to our Board of Education?
I think we're ready to bring it for our first reading. That would be my recommendation. Yahira, Tyrone, Francois, is there anything so alarming that we shouldn't, from what you've heard?
I'm good. I'm totally comfortable. The only general question I have is that's just in the meeting here is someone asked a question about the qualified individual. So, you know, are they satisfied? Are we satisfied? That's all nicely defined. So, I mean,
Yeah, I'm satisfied. From what I've heard, I'm satisfied with the descriptions of who, what, and when. And like I said, this has been updated since 2005, so I think it's about due for update. So, okay, cool. Yahira, good.
I'm good. This is very informative and very detailed, and I appreciate you guys putting the time in doing this. And it doesn't leave any open questions for me besides, you know, the electronic signature for prescriptions later in the future. Besides that, as we're moving more towards that, like, I have no questions or reservations.
Francois, any
I'm good with it.
okay. Yeah, Dr. Silver, we're good with moving forward.
Thank you very much.
Oh, Miss Brody, I didn't even see Miss Brody here. Miss Brody, how about you?
I'm good.
Okay, cool.
Thank you so much. Our next policy on our agenda is the food allergies policy. And this policy was last updated in November of 2006. I start my screen share here and zoom in a little bit more. There we go. And I can't seem to bring this up on my computer. Let me see if I can open it. Oh, good. Okay. I can't open it here. This is great. Can you all see the policy?
Yes.
And so this was updated to renumber 5141.25, recodified by our board, and the header was updated a while ago. But the heart of this policy, it does have some new language, as you can see. So I will start with this. The focus of a district-wide food allergy management plan shall be prevention, education, awareness, communication, and emergency response. The management plan shall strike a balance between the health, social normalcy, and safety needs of the individual student with life-threatening food allergies and the education, health, and safety needs of all students. The district food allergy management plan shall be the basis for the development of the procedural guidelines that will be implemented at the school level and provide for consistency across all schools within the district. Again, more new text. The goals for the district-wide plan include, number one, to maintain the health and protect the safety of children who have life-threatening food allergies in ways that are developmentally appropriate, promote self-advocacy and confidence in self-care, and provide appropriate educational opportunities. Number two, to ensure that interventions and individual healthcare plans for students with life-threatening food allergies are based on medically accurate information and evidence-based practices. And number three, to define a formal process for identifying, managing, and ensuring continuity of care for students with life-threatening food allergies across all transitions, pre-K through grade 12. So that opening was added. And then we have new text here. It is the policy of the Board of Education to follow the guidelines developed and promulgated by the Connecticut Department of Public Health and Department of Education for students within the district with life-threatening food allergies and glycogen storage disease. Such guidelines include education and training for school personnel and the management of students with life-threatening food allergies and glycogen storage disease, including training related to the administration of medication with a cartridge injector and the provision of food or dietary supplements. Number two, procedures for responding to life-threatening allergic reactions to food. Number three, a process for the development of individualized healthcare and food allergy action plans for every student with a life-threatening food allergy. Number four, a process for the development of individualized healthcare and glycogen storage disease action plans for every student with glycogen storage disease, and such plans shall include, but not be limited to, the provision of food or dietary supplements by the school nurse or by any school employee approved by the school nurse to a student with glycogen storage disease, provided such plan does not prohibit a parent or guardian or a person they so designate to provide food or dietary supplements on the school grounds during the school day. And number five, protocols to prevent exposure to food allergens. Let me pause there and ask if there are any questions. Not, we'll move forward. It is the board's expectation that specific building-based guidelines actions will take into account the health needs and well-being of children without discrimination or isolation of any child. It is the board's belief that education and open and informative communication are vital for the creation of an environment with reduced risks for all students and their families. In order to assist children with life-threatening allergies to assume more individual responsibility for maintaining their safety as they grow, it is the policy of the board that guidelines shift as children advance through the primary grades and through secondary school. The district's plan for managing students with life-threatening food allergies shall be posted on the district's website, taking threats or harassment against an allergic child seriously. We have references here and an update to the legal references for this policy. And that brings us to the end of this policy on food allergy.
Any questions on what we've heard pertaining food allergy?
I'm fine.
Okay. Very good. Francois, Shante,
I'm good.
good? Okay. Shante?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, perfect. What's the recommended action on this, Dr. Silva?
Yes, sir. If it pleases the board, we could move this policy forward for a first reading for our Board of Education.
Yes, that will be okay.
Excellent. I'm just gonna go turn my lights on. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no doubt.
Thank you.
Christina, I have a question, as Dr. Silver's doing that. Is it possible, I mean, I know we always say board members should go to board docs and read this. Is there a more proactive way to get this to board members, maybe immediately after this meeting, give them, weeks ahead just to get familiar so they know what's coming out of the policy committee?
Yeah, we can make it standard practice that once the committee kind of approves it for a first read, I can just send it to all board for their review immediately, since it is a lot of reading. And just for the new board members to know what, we do 2 readings of policies, first reading, and that gives time for the full board to review, and then we bring it back to the next policy committee for a final review before the second reading and adoption. So I could add that into the protocol, if that helps.
Okay, yeah, I think that'll be helpful, as getting it like the Friday before may not be the most,
right?
I can't say I've honestly read everything the Friday before, right? So
it's a lot. And
all right, go ahead.
And actually, if you want, I'll just make a note of, or send me any recommendations or any concerns that the committee had to send to the full board. So you and I can connect on that.
Okay, cool. How much time we got left, Christina? 30
Half an
minutes?
hour.
30 minutes, okay. All right, Dr. Silver, push this through.
Okay, we are going to move forward. I am I'm having trouble getting this open. Let me see. Oh, here we go. Here we are. Okay. So this is a policy we did not have in our policy manual. And it is policy 6164.11, and it is under instruction. We did not have this policy. We did have our discipline policy did speak to this somewhat, but this is an update to our policy manual. Our recommended, required policy: drugs, tobacco, nicotine, and alcohol. Use of drugs, tobacco, nicotine, and alcohol has a harmful effect on the health and welfare of the users and far-reaching detrimental consequences to users, families, and society. Efforts shall be made by staff to reduce student use of harmful drugs, tobacco, and alcohol. Annually, teachers in each grade shall emphasize the effect of alcohol, tobacco, nicotine, and drugs on health, character, citizenship, and personality development wherever appropriate in the health education program and other contexts in which, other contexts which touch on the subject. So this will be a new policy for us, and it is a brief policy. I welcome your feedback.
I don't have a problem with the policy. I have maybe a question of what its focus is supposed to be or function, and maybe what prompted this policy.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. So the focus of this policy is instruction. It's in the 6,000 series. I mislabeled it, and the possession on school property was actually in the 5,000 series and had to do with an update to the legal references of that policy, which we have for a second reading this morning that will go to our board for a second reading, our next board meeting. So that is about possession on school property because of the change in the Connecticut law around the possession of marijuana. And so I inadvertently labeled this policy incorrectly, and it should have been labeled instruction of, let's see, instruction about harmful effects of substances. That would be a more appropriate header on our agenda.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you mentioned that. Okay, yeah, that clears it up.
Okay.
I have a question. Where it says annually, teachers in each grade shall emphasize the effect of alcohol, tobacco, nicotine, drugs on health, character, citizenship. That citizenship one, why is that including there? Can you just define what you mean by, I mean, I know what it means, but I don't know in the context of this, why citizenship is there.
Thank you for that question, Princess Trevino.
That's okay, don't worry about it.
I'm gonna get it right. I'll keep practicing. But thank you for the question. This is the majority of this text is from the model policy from CAVE, and citizenship can be impacted by drug use or alcohol abuse, and I believe that's why it's included here. To be a contributing citizen to a community, it's important to maintain one's health and avoid the use of drugs, tobacco, nicotine, and alcohol.
Okay. Yeah, just because I mean, in my context, or especially in the world that we live in now, when I think of citizenship, I can't help but automatically think about immigration status and all of that automatically. So, and obviously I know it has nothing to do with that. And that's why I was just curious as to why that citizenship, that word specifically was there.
We can we can change that to
I'm just thinking about the students that we have in our schools, you know, especially the kids who are not from this country. You know, a lot of them are not from here, may not have citizenship status. So it was just, I don't know if the choice is the best, that word is the best choice is what I'm trying to say.
Hey, Howard, this is Tyrone. Let me turn my picture on. Maybe let's table getting into it at this meeting, but I think you're on to something. I have heard a couple of examples where naturalized citizens can have a different experience as it relates to drug use and law breaking versus citizens born in the country.
Right.
And so it may be there because there may actually be a difference between, so your concern may be legit. What I'm saying is there may be some threat to naturalized citizens in terms of their use or getting in trouble in this way and its impact. Because with naturalized citizenship, I think the country does have the ability to rescind. You see what I'm saying?
No, yeah. So and we can have this conversation later on, but that was something just to note for you guys, something that that strikes me in the wording of all of that.
Yeah, my hearing what I've heard, Dr. Silver, I would probably recommend using another word. I understand the intent, but the intent is maybe the word may be distracting to the intent. So if we could just flesh that out a little more so it doesn't seem so threatening, because I think Tyrone is right and Yahara is right. Some of that language can be taken as a threat to someone's unintentionally, right? As it pertains to drug and tobacco and nicotine now also.
Thank you so much, Pastor AJ, and thank you, Ms. Escribano and Mr. Walker for raising those points. Ms. Mesereau, do you have a recommendation? Would social responsibility be or
I don't know if I don't know if community is too broad or something around that line.
Well, can you go back to the synonyms? Because I think social responsibility might be a good, health, character, social responsibility, and personal development. I mean, I think we all have a social responsibility on various topics and issues.
I agree with you, AJ.
Yeah.
I have a question for Mr. Walker.
Go ahead.
I'm trying to fully understand what he was saying, because maybe I misunderstood what he was trying to caution us on.
Well, okay, Shante, my example is purely anecdotal, right? But some years back, I had a friend whose family had relatives that immigrated to this country, right? Immigrated from the Caribbean, and so they became naturalized citizens, right? And by extension, your children and so forth, now citizens of the country. One of the children got into some significant legal difficulties, absorbed some kind of felony convictions, and essentially at some point, not the family, but that particular son was deported. At some point, his welcome here in the country came to an end, and he was deported, right? As a result of, now in his case, it wasn't necessarily the use, in this case, but that led to, incarceration, some felony convictions, things of that nature. That's all that I'm saying. That I think his experience as a naturalized citizen is different than someone who's born here would have. Like, I would never be deported, even though I could get into significant legal difficulty around stuff, right? But that's an anecdotal experience. It's not researched or anything like that.
So you're saying basically, because of that, there may be a reason why we have that word there.
Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Mr. Walker.
Well, I was trying to tell you that, I'm not trying to tell you, but Yahara, that some people will read that citizenship and they could see it in a threatening way, because if you're from an immigrant or naturalized citizen community, I think they're more aware of the fact that, things could impact their residency in the country.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. I wanted to understand your point. Thank you for that.
Okay, so yes, Dr. Silver, like I said, I think that social responsibility piece would limit all kind of interpretation as it pertains to that.
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for raising that point. I am going to, because this is a first read and we did not have the policy before, this is the language. So we could move this forward if it pleases the board, we could move this forward for a first reading at our next Board of Education meeting.
I have another question.
Yes, go ahead.
What are we going to look into as to why it says citizenship though? To see if it's linked to something else?
I can follow up with the Connecticut Association of Boards of Education to get more information about that.
Thank you.
Who's your contact there, Dr. Silver, when you're making those
His
making
name
those
is,
connections?
yes, I work with a gentleman named Ben Massaro.
Okay.
He does typically do a presentation every year in the November Cape Caps conference as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I know who you're talking about. It sounds like everyone's good. Okay, yeah, sounds like we're good to move forward on for the first read, pushing it forward.
Wow, this is really exciting. We are made great progress today with policies, and I'll go back to our, if I may, just share my screen briefly to say that student discipline, we discussed that, and that really was about possession on school property of marijuana. Then we did a first reading for administering medication for food allergies and for instruction of harmful substances. So we addressed these 4 policies: instruction about harmful effects of substances. I will follow up with Ben Massaro regarding the term citizenship in policy 6164.11, and we will go forward with a second reading of our student discipline policy and a first reading of these 3 policies. In addition, at the end of our slide deck, we can see the work that we've accomplished so far this year, which is pretty exciting, and the work that we have coming up, the policies that we have coming up as well for April, May, and June. And of course, if we have time, some additional policies. But so appreciate the opportunity to do this work with you.
Outstanding. It is 9:45. I mean, look at this. Time to spare. So I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to say thank you to Dr. Silver. Thank you to our board members that are on here taking time early in the morning to do this. But this is probably one of the quickest policy meetings I've been a part of. So I'm not going to spoil it. Thank you, Shantae. Thank you, Yahira. Thank you, Tyrone. And Kim had to step out. Lori, thank you, Deb. You all have an awesome day. And we will be looking forward to your update on what CAPE says about the citizen language. And also, Christina, if you could just send this out as early as possible, the earlier the better, to our board members to look and review if they have any issues or questions outside of this committee. I want to have a committee that communicates very clearly so we're not just passing stuff and giving everyone an opportunity to read it. So have a good day. Thank you all.